place you do not know. Lechi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be.
So it's exactly 9 p.m. Israeli time, and so welcome all. We are on our whatever number it is.
63.
53.
63.
No, 63.
Yes.
All right, yeah, 6-3. All right, okay. And we will be touring the Gaza Strip surroundings, around 7 miles from the Gaza Strip border, what we call normally as the Gaza Strip envelope, Otef Aza in Hebrew. And again, it will make more sense later, but Daphne and Adi, please unmute yourself and talk to us. And first of all, please tell us where you are. I will only say that Adi, okay? Adi is the boy. Adi is Noam's best friend ever since they're 9 months old, okay? And therefore, that means that they're friends for over 18 years now. And Dafna, she's a friend of Adi, and they study together. And right now, Dafna, it's all yours. Please.
So, hello, I'm Daphna. This is Adi, as you did such an amazing job of introducing. We are right now in Sderot. It is in south of Israel. It is called the Negev. We are actually walking distance from the Gaza Strip, or at least from a, in Hebrew you call it a tatzpit, and we can just go and look over and see, you know, the Gaza Strip. So we are not that far. I believe by car it's like 20 minutes to go there. Do you want to say anything before we start with the questions? No? Okay. So hello, I'm just gonna answer the questions that I got. My name is Daphna. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Pennsylvania, Chalfont, Pennsylvania, if anyone knows.
Yay.
Really?
Yeah, Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Hey, go Eagles.
Philadelphia.
So I joined the Mechina because I grew up in Israel, and I always knew that I wanted to come back and, you know, get to know the country more and the people and learn everything that I could and see and travel. And I just like wanted to get like, you know, more experience, and I wouldn't say that it's real experience, but it's close enough. So I think, so the next question is about the pandemic, and I'm having a little bit of a hard time on how I want to answer this, because usually I would think that the pandemic has done more bad than good to our year, but I actually think otherwise. I think that our year has become something so special and obviously has never been done before because of this pandemic. And I think that we are faced with so many challenges that we have to come up with such creative solutions that it really takes us to like the next level on a daily basis. For everything from getting food from the grocery store, which we can't do, so we got to find other solutions, whether it's ordering online, like getting together a group of people and ordering from the supermarket, to like, you know, the big problems with the lockdowns and having to figure out whether we're going to be in the Mechina or not. We're currently 5 weeks in to being here, with about 24 hours of being home to gather clothes. So you can say that it is rougher than usually most years. They've never experienced, you know, these kind of challenges before. But I do think that it very much like the Mechina has been very flexible with understanding that it is difficult to be here for so long. So yeah, I think I'm super happy, other than the fact that we barely get to travel. I came to this Mechina specifically because they do travel a lot and they see Israel and they hike everywhere, and that's a big part of this Mechina, and I feel like we've barely done that. So that's a little, can you explain what a Mechina is? Yes, I can. So a Mechina is basically a gap year. This one specifically helps you get ready for the army. which is, yeah, in life, we study here everything from philosophy to economy to we study like women's rights and everything. Basically, the group gets to decide what we learn. So it depends on our interests. Every year is different. We go on hikes. We have workouts, organized workouts at least 3 times a week to prepare for the army. And those, he's actually in charge of the ones who go to the big boy stuff, the very like hard training for usually most of the guys who have Yom Sarot for the army. So they do like really, really intense workouts. I look from the side and I'm like, oh, don't want to do that. And yeah, basically it's just a year that we can take here in Israel. It's mostly Israelis. This one specifically is in the Beyachad program, which is how I came to it. It's with the Tzofim in America, which I also did. And basically it just prepares you for, it's just higher education. If you're looking to study more about yourself, Israel, about the army, just to get a better sense of where you're at and where you want to go. That's how I look at it, at least. Do you have anything to add about the מכינה?
אני חושב שדיברת על הכל.
Okay, nice. So here it's asking about whether I've ever heard Tzeva Adom. We did have one night where we had 3 in a row.
Wait,
I
Daphna, wait, you have to explain what Tzeva Adom is.
Okay, so Tzeva Adom is basically the alarm that we hear when rockets are fired from Gaza, from the Gaza Strip. And so Israel has the Iron Shield, which is basically they send smaller rockets to hit the bigger rockets in the air, and then they don't explode on the ground. Usually, sometimes they let them go if they can calculate that it's going to go to fields where no one is going to get hurt. So a Tzeva Adom is just the alarm that we hear when there are rockets in the air. Here in Sderot, we have about 15 seconds to get into a miklat, which is a shelter. There are shelters all over the place. No matter where you look, you can find a shelter, especially if you're outside. Inside our bedrooms are shelters. So the night that we had Tzeva Adom, which is the bomb alarm, we just had to stay in our rooms. It was terrifying. I personally forgot that there was the Iron Shield. Every bomb was for me was it landed, someone's house just got knocked down. But I think in the moment, like, you can't think rationally. At least I didn't. I know I wasn't in my room. We had a problem with all the electricity. It fell that night. So some of the guys were sleeping in the living room because there was no air conditioning and it was super hot. So the guys were like hopping from the living room into the bedrooms. I was in the other girl's bedroom, and I remember all I wanted, my best friend here, she's also an American. Her name is Pina. And you guys will meet Nadav. He's amazing. And I remember at first I was like, okay, I was like calming the other girls who were crying. And then I realized that Pina was in the other room and she was by herself. And I just had this immediate like panic. Like she's never experienced this. Like she doesn't know what's happening. I just went into stress and anxiety and started crying. And honestly, it was the best situation that I could have been, because all the girls from the other room, we were all huddled on the floor crying together. It was a great bonding experience. Luckily for us, that night, no bomb made it on the ground. They all were fired in the air. And yeah, it was a growing experience that I've experienced one other Tzeva Adom here in Israel, and it was not in Sderot. It was I live in a moshav that's called Moshav Galia. It was there. It was when I was in 4th grade, so I knew a little bit, about the ordeal, but it was rough. And 15 seconds is not enough time to understand what is happening around you. especially when it's screaming Tseva Adom. But I think next time we'll get better. I hope. I hope we don't get it next time, but we'll see about that. Do you have anything to add?
Actually, I was one of these guys who slept outside the room. So,
In the living room.
Yeah, so I heard Tseva Adom, and my body just woke up really fast, and I ran to my living room.
Sleeping room.
Sleeping?
Yeah,
Oh.
his room.
So all of the boys, they knew it is a Tseva Adom, and like we weren't so איך אומרים, לחוצים? Stressed, and like we just made sure everyone is okay, and like no one is too terrified of the situation. And we went to the other guys and checked out if they're fine, just like us.
And luckily, our counselors were actually on their way here to wake us up at 4 a.m. because we were supposed to have like this surprise like wake up thing. I think we were supposed to go like around Sderot and like do this kind of scavenger hunt. We don't really know. I think they're gonna do it to us towards the end of the year, but they won't tell us. Oh no, it's Moshav Gealia. Sorry, with a G, Gealia. It's by Rehovot in Yavne, if anyone knows that. It's like my favorite place in this whole world. But that's irrelevant. So the next question is whether I'm happy if I came to Israel. I am very happy that I chose to come to Israel and specifically to Mechina, because I do feel that one, it is a very structured like place to be, so I don't feel like I have to be as independent as I would have had to be being here by myself, having my parents in America. And you know, as an American, I don't know that much about Israeli society and how they function and how they. I know the language. I speak Hebrew, but I don't know Israeli. I usually don't get their jokes. I usually don't like. They can be talking, and I just will sit there like I don't know what you're saying. That's most of my day, but I am getting better, and I feel like I've definitely gotten to know a lot because of in the Mechina, they do try to like bring someone from everywhere. We're all super, super different. So I've gotten exposed to a million different sides of Israel just from every person that's here. And I think that that's the real beauty of a Mechina, that I get to meet so many people and connect to them, and I can call every person here my friend. And every one of them is so different, and I just absolutely love that. And what are my plans for the future? I do plan to join the army through Garin Tabar. I hope to maybe make it to be a mefakedet and give what I believe is officer. Yeah, sorry. In English, it's officer. My cousin just became an officer, and she very much inspired me to do so myself too. So yeah, join the army and then hopefully travel Europe and the world and make art. That's my future plans. You want to say anything?
I think that Mechina is a really good time to work on yourself and to know your weaknesses, and like to meet other people who can like help you decide what you want to do in your life and how to get over some difficulties in your life, and just a really good time for us.
So for the question that's in the comments, I personally don't think I would raise a family this close to the Gaza Strip. Although we don't feel it on a daily basis, there are, you know, more heated times and cooler times. And also there's, in Israel, there are cities that are called periferiot, They're basically just less developed cities. There's Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and a few others who are the super, like, they're the big cities and the go-to places. But then there are the smaller cities who are less developed. Sderot is one of them. But just not like regarding I will answer that. That is a great question. I don't think I would raise a family this close to Gaza Strip, and I wish I could, because I do feel that us being here is very much helping the city. But I wouldn't want to put my small children through that. I feel like if Israel's situation, safety situation got better, then I would definitely think through it. But I also have a house planned and signed in Moshav Galia with a winery in the back, so I'm not going to give up on that. That is going to be my home. You want to say anything about that? No? Okay, hold on. I will just open the comments to see the chat. The best way to learn Hebrew, I would say, is just to come here. The moment everyone is speaking it around you, and you have to know what you're doing, that's when you really push yourself. Like, I did grow up here, but I was in America for 8 years now, and I lost a lot of my Hebrew. I came here and I did feel that I was a little bit behind from where I thought I should be or I thought I would be. But the moment everyone is speaking it around you, you're just like, you have to you have to know the language and you have to like communicate. But I would say just speaking it and trying to get the words out. And yes, the accent is a little difficult, especially when you're speaking English, but don't mind the accent. Say the words with an American accent. Say it like with whatever accent you have, just get the words out. Read books. I felt like ever since I moved here, I've been really challenging myself to read books in Hebrew. And it might take me like 4 times longer than it would any English book, but it is worth it. It is worth it because I learn new words. And if I don't know words, I just ask guys like I did to tell me what they mean. And they help. They really do help. And I will go to the questions again. You used a name that described your mechina that I didn't get. You said that you joined this one because it's out.
Daphna, you just turned off your camera.
Oh yeah, I'm just reading the chat.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, okay. So about the really long question of that, it starts with you used the word that I didn't understand. So what I meant is the mechina is Gdam Tzva'it, which is basically gets you prepared for the army. And what they do is, so boys, when they go to the army, they have a day that's called Yom Sarot, which is basically they test their strength and their ability to, be in combat. So he's in charge of those workouts. Girls don't have the same tests. We get tested more on our ability to lead and to teach, and because we usually go to more jobs that are more like more
Teaching?
yeah, like teaching jobs, basically, like to teach soldiers how to use this type of gun or this type of plane or this type of computer, more those kind of jobs rather than combat. Of course, Israel is amazing with having girls in combat. So I'm not yet an American citizen. My family is getting their citizenship in 2 years. I'm actually not sure. I don't believe I automatically lose it. I think that I do have to first be an American citizen, and then maybe I know that there is like a time limit I can be outside of the U.S. I'm not sure if that's actually a great question because I was counting on getting my citizenship. Great question. I will look that up. And you do not. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you. Okay, I
Want
will
me to
look.
just read it to you? Is that easier? So you don't have to keep looking?
Oh, yeah, if you can read me the
Yeah,
chat,
I
that
can
would be
read it to
amazing.
you. It says, where does Adi's family live and what is Adi's job in the Mechina? Is he a madrich?
I'm not a madrich. I'm one of the guys here. I'm living in Maor. It's a moshav in the north.
Hey guys, this is the same moshav I
Yeah,
live
yeah,
in. So
exactly.
yeah, if you participated in the Sukkot tour, so we passed these home. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the guys here, as he said. We have 4 counselors. They're all great. They are all about 24 and older. We are both 18.
19.
Oh, you're 19? He's
Yeah.
19. Never mind. I'm 18. Are there any other questions in the chat, or?
Did you finish your last year of high school and then go?
Yes. So what I did, it was a little bit of a weird situation because I did apply to colleges. So I finished my senior year, and halfway through senior year, I sort of had to make the decision of whether I wanted to come to Israel or stay in college in the U.S. And I was very much torn. I sort of let the decision go on for as long as I could. But then I did decide to come here. And yeah, we started in September, right? We started in Mechina in September, and I've been here ever since.
So,
Any other questions?
guys, thank you so very much. It was amazing. I will let you go. I will let you free. I know that you have other duties tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen from overseas, if you have any urgent questions for Daphne and Adi, so go ahead. And otherwise, we will let them go. Okay. Okay,
Thank you,
I
guys.
thought it was one last question regarding dual citizenship. You can have a dual citizenship, but not allowed as an enemy. Well, Israel is not an enemy, so that's not a, yeah, no problem. Okay, so you can go to the
And
army,
you
come
can
back,
have dual
and get, yeah,
citizenship.
right. Okay, Adi, toda raba. Your mom was carefully watching you at all times. Okay, so now you should call her and say hi. Adi's mom is a very good friend of mine. So okay, we have moshav connections around here. תודה רבה. עדי, תודה רבה. המון המון תודה. דפנה, תודה רבה. לילה טוב. באמת תודה.
Of course. Have a great night. Enjoy your meeting.
They're adorable.
Okay, so that was the first participant of today. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Very much.
Yeah, valuable
Okay,
insight.
well, I think that was a really, like, I think she could do better than I could. And so, well, basically, this is why I wanted them to be here. And I hope it was successful. And now I will start sharing. We'll start sharing my screen. למה זה בצד השני? לא יודעת, זה אמור להיות פה. Okay, can you see my screen around Gaza Strip envelope with Julie Newman? Can you see that?
We're good.
You're good. All right, so, okay, now Noam is dismissed as well. He was standing next to me at all times looking at Adi. They did not see each other for 3 weeks, which is more or less the maximum they ever parted. Okay. Well, listen, they live next door ever since they're 9 months old. So this is no easy, you know. Okay. So welcome to the Gaza Strip envelope, Otef Gaza. And here we go. Welcome to Gaza Strip. Just a few words of definition. You know, this photo here, this is a Google photo. And the first time when I looked at it, I thought, oh, this is Tel Aviv. And then, you know, I looked carefully and I realized this is not Tel Aviv. And then I looked even better. And then I saw that he specifically mentions that this is Gaza. So this is what the Beach of Gaza looks like. And I decided to start with this photo just to remind us all that the people living in Gaza, they're not just terrorists, they're not just enemies, they're not just those, shooting missiles, but they're people. So Gaza Strip is called such because it is a long and narrow strip which consists of basically 4 clusters of population. All of them are Palestinian, Arabs, 99.9% are Muslim. And we are talking about 2 million people now, occupying 214 square miles. This is it, which makes Gaza one of the most densely populated, if not the densest populated area in the world. And of course, as Daphne and Adi just mentioned, each time we hear of Gaza, so we automatically think, we, the Israelis, we automatically think of Seva Adom. And you can, on the left-hand side, you can see these dots, okay, where it's not that important for me to look at every single color of every dot, but what I do want you to see is the best missiles from Gaza, best meaning with the longest distance. They can make it all the way across the border, all the way into Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. And the distance from Gaza to as far as they can reach, and again, this is very far, it will take you 1 minute. I mean, it will take the missile 1 minute to get as far as it can. And that means that you have 1 minute only to get into a bomb shelter. It is a brown color on the left picture. It is the red color on the right picture. And this is what we normally mean when we say the envelope of Gaza, Otef Aza, which is within 15 seconds for you to reach the bomb shelter. Sorry, my mistake. I wrote 10 seconds. It's actually 15 seconds, okay? So these 15 seconds, which are approximately 7 miles from the border, they define the Gaza envelope. And this is what we are going to tour quite fast, because there is another inhabitant of the Gaza Strip who will meet us. We will be touring around Gaza Strip, and these blue stars, they identify the locations we will be visiting. But again, you see that they're all around these, within these 15 seconds. And this one here, okay, I hope you can see my pointer, this relatively big one, this is the road. And this is where Daphna and Adi are currently located. Okay, this is the town of the road. So just a quick reminder, we used to have dozens of Israeli Jewish settlements like this one here. As a result of political pressure and as a result of the missiles and threats to the civilians living in Gaza and around Gaza Strip, the Israeli government led by Ariel Sharon decided upon the disengagement plan, which took place back in 2005. And this is when we withdrew all our forces, all our citizens from the Gaza Strip, meaning that not even one single Israeli currently lives within the Gaza Strip. These photos are from the disengagement plan. This one in the center, this is my favorite. I mean, this is an amazing photo. Look at her. This is a young Israeli soldier, a girl, a combat girl. One of the soldiers who were responsible for physically taking, withdrawing families by force from the Gaza Strip, because that was the decision made by the government, no matter what she thought about it. So we have a young girl here. She is 20, 21 years old maybe. And we have a woman, she's approximately the same age as her, but she is a settler. She already has at least 2 little babies, and she must leave her house. And you see, she's holding one of the babies, and the soldier is holding the other one. And I think this is one of the most amazing human photos ever taken. And in the end of the disengagement plan, the entire Jewish settlement, the entire whatever was built by Israel within Gaza Strip was ruined. And here in the right lower corner, you can see what a settlement. This particular one is Gadid. I think that's Gadid, but maybe, well, it could be Bnei Netzarim. I don't remember, but all of the settlements of Gaza Strip, this is what they look like. And then about 2 years later, Hamas, the terrorist organization of Hamas, was democratically elected. And ever since, Gaza Strip is fully controlled by the Hamas. And then, just a few operations, which, Moore mentioned the day before yesterday, Cast Lead. You can see the Israeli killed, the Palestinians killed, Israeli wounded, and the Palestinians wounded. You can see that the casualties within the Palestinians are much, much higher. Pillar of defense, about 3 years later, again, Israeli, Palestinians killed. This is a rocket. This is the Iron Dome working from Ashdod, and this is the result of the Israeli attack within Gaza. And obviously both sides suffer. Again, some, difficult to watch photos. On the right upper corner, this is a house ruined by a missile from Gaza in Yehud, which is right next to Ben Gurion Airport, and another one in Beersheba, and another, this is another Iron Dome missile. This is already protective edge. We're moving forward in history. Weapon in Gaza, ruins in Gaza, and Gilad Shalit. I believe most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with the name, the kidnapped Israeli soldier who spent 5.5 years in prison of the Hamas. Here on the right, you can see them. We can see him shaking hands with the prime minister when he was finally released, when he was exchanged for 1,027 Palestinian prisoners, which was one of the greatest debated, greatest disagreements within the Israeli society. But finally, he is home. And let's just pay a short visit to Sderot, even though we've been there just 10 minutes ago. This is what Sderot looks like by night. This is sort of a gate. It says Sderot here in Hebrew. And right in the first roundabout, as you enter this Sderot, you can see this, this is a really nice sculpture. You can see that the pianist, how do you say a piano player? The piano player, he has a mask and he's playing music.
Pianist.
Okay. So, and the pianist, the reason why we have this pianist here is because the road is famous for two different things. One is Tseva Adom, the missiles, and the other one is music, because somehow quite a few very famous modern Israeli music bands, they are originated from Sderot, and one of them is called Tipex. And I wanted us to listen to. Okay, here it comes. I hope so. Later. I don't know. Wait, something. Yeah. Okay.
שרית בבית קפה, מתפלאת עליי ממך, מדברת חתייה, נראה לי מכאן, אמא אמרה לי, לא לענות לזה, אמרנו, מרגל, רצה לכתב.
This is as I said, a very popular song, which is called Perach HaShchunot, the flower of the neighborhood, and this is a band from Sderot. Well, in Sderot, there's a lot of Orthodox people, and therefore there are many children, and children need playgrounds, and you cannot raise kids in a bomb shelter, and therefore This is an open air playground. And here you have the life-saving caterpillar, because basically this caterpillar is a bomb shelter. Okay, I can see, Lana, that you're familiar with this one. Steve, I think you've been there as well. Pamela, I'm pretty sure. I don't know who else. But the idea is that look, okay, listen, you have kids, okay? Just imagine that you have kids. Normally you would have 2, 3, 4 little kids. They are playing around, and you're sitting down here having a chat, and then you hear this. The scariest noises I've ever had. This is one of the most terrifying things, and I can't even imagine myself as a young mother with 2, 3 little kids hearing this, and you know that they have 15 seconds to reach the caterpillar. Okay, this is something I can't even imagine, but this is how people live there, and this is how people raise kids, because they believe that this is the right thing for them to do. And since there is one caterpillar and sometimes there's so many kids, so we have these bomb shelters. You see, they are nicely decorated. They look so funny, but these are bomb shelters, and they're located at the very same playground. And this is an exhibit of shells, of different methods, grad, custom, different types of those. And this is a collection which is stored in Sderot. I mean, these are the shells which were picked up after the attacks in Sderot. So let's start traveling. We start driving. We are driving from Sderot towards Kibbutz Yad Mordechai, and in every single junction, you will see a bus stop, and next to a bus stop, you will see a nice box. You see, this is donated by JNF USA. Okay, you see this. Quite a few of these large boxes, let's call them so, next to the bus station. They were financed at least partly by JNF USA, which means you guys. So we are driving toward Kibbutz Yad Mordechai. Here we are. Okay, we take a left toward Kibbutz Yad Mordechai. It's a really nice, prosperous kibbutz. This is a nice sculpture of somebody smoking a cigarette, and this is a nice house, and this is a very nice young cow being fed by Noam. It's all good. And well, this is a general view of the kibbutz, and this is myself, of course, standing next to another nicely decorated box here. And we walk uphill, just a little bit uphill, and on top of the hill we see this ruined structure with, it looks as if somebody shot it, right? And these are actually the bullet holes from 1948. And Kibbutz Yad Mordechai is named after Mordechai Anilevich. His huge statue up here, this is Mordechai Anilevich, a statue made by a very famous Israeli sculptor, Natan Rappaport. And the reason why I placed Noam here is so you can see how much bigger the statue is comparing to Noam. And the kibbutz is named after him. Now, Mordechai Anilevich was the commander of the Warsaw Ghetto Revolt, and so he never made it to Israel. He was killed by the Nazis in 1943 in Warsaw. But he belonged to the same group of Hashomer HaTzair, who founded Yad Mordechai in 1943. And so they named their kibbutz after Mordechai Anilevich. Well, we are moving forward to May 1948, and Kibbutz Yad Mordechai, you see we are in the kibbutz. This is the panorama from a little hill within the kibbutz, facing south. This hill right in front of us, okay, around a mile south from us, okay? This is a hill where Moshav Netiva Asara is located. We're going to be there later, okay? And immediately behind Moshav Netiva Asara, this is where Gaza Strip is. Back in 1948, this is where Egypt was. And therefore, Yad Mordechai was the first kibbutz being attacked by the Egyptian army the day after the declaration of the independence, the very, very beginning of the independence war. So today, this is a tourist attraction, and these little metal figures represent the Egyptian soldiers attacking. These armored vehicles represent the Egyptian armored vehicles, even though these are not the original one. And here on the hill where now we all are standing, there is a little, tiny little shelter. You can see it in the square. This is what it looks like from inside. And from the Egyptian perspective, this is a special stamp which was issued by the Egyptians, and you can see the Egyptian army marching towards Tel Aviv. And here, this is in Egyptian canon pointed towards Tel Aviv. Okay, this is just a little bit of the Egyptian perspective. After a few days, the people of the kibbutz realized that they have to evacuate the kids. This young man, his nickname was Dabembam, because he was a captain, Gershon Dubinboim. He was killed in a different battle later, but he was responsible for evacuating the kids of the kibbutz in these armored vehicles. This is the one on display there, okay? And this water tower, which we saw before with Mordechai and Ilevich on the other side, is right next to it. So again, just imagine yourself being young mother, young father, and you have to protect your kibbutz, and you have a little child and you want him to be safe. And this guy, he is the one for you to trust to take care of your children. You have no choice, you know. So the children were evacuated in a few armored vehicles, each age group separately, each age group with 2 caregivers. And that's it. And you don't know if you'll ever see your kid and if your kid will make it alive. The kids made it alive to a nearby kibbutz Ruchama. And Yad Mordechai was abandoned a few days later and restored only about 6 months afterwards. So they came back, they restored the kibbutz, they rebuilt the kibbutz, they made it a beautiful, prosperous kibbutz, which makes wonderful honey. It's a well-known brand. It says Dvash Tahor, pure honey. In Yad Mordechai, they make jams. They have olive oil, and they also have a Holocaust museum dedicated to the Warsaw Ghetto revolt. And people who live there, approximately 700 people live in this kibbutz today. Beautiful, modern, prosperous kibbutz. Some of them, they still have these, how to call it, mental, spiritual scars from 1948. But they chose to come back there. So, time for lunch. And this is where we normally stop for lunch, right across the road from Kibbutz Yad Mordechai. This time everything is closed because of the pandemic, but you might find this place familiar. And right here, approximately where it says time for lunch. So in reality, there is this structure, okay? Again, this is the bomb shelter, not decorated. In Hebrew, it's called migunit. Migunit is like a little protection thing, okay? Migun is protection. And, this is no wonder, but here, if you can read Hebrew, you can read it. If you cannot read Hebrew, so I will help you. It says, Magia lanu. Magia lanu means we deserve it. okay? So no politics. But what I'm trying to say is some Israelis feel guilty for the situation in Gaza, and quite a few Israelis think that actually the Israeli attitude, the Israeli behavior brought us to the point where we have to have bomb shelters at every bus stop. Okay, no comments, but this is something to, to think about maybe. Okay, well, this is something we must visit, of course. Let me see, what time is it? Okay, we will not have the whole presentation because, okay, let me check in a minute if Raz is already here. Anyhow, this is something we must visit together. This is a Black Arrow Memorial, and this is a memorial which dedicated to the daring breaks, the daring operations of the paratroopers and the legendary unit called 101, who was established by Ariel Sharon. And these were the units who fought against the Palestinian territories, who came mainly from Gaza Strip in the early 50s. The attacks by Fedayeen, this is what they're called. Anyhow, the reason why we must visit this place is because General Aaron Davidi, okay, here he is, young, handsome. You can tell how brave he is, and you can also see by his face that he's a really good person, can't you? Anyhow, Aaron Davidi, as I'm sure you all know, he was the general in charge. He was the director of Sarel ever since it was founded back in 1982. So we may say that the reason for us all to be here is thanks to Aaron Davidi, who found himself unintentionally the commander of one of the attacks, which is commemorated and which are mentioned, commemorated in this memorial, and this is Bulat Khan Yunis. He also participated in quite a few operations during these days, and so touring the envelope of Gaza Strip, we must visit Black Arrow. And the other reason is because you see the area of the memorial is designed to look like an arrow. Okay, that looks like an arrow. So now here we follow Noam to the very end of the arrow. And now we are standing right at this arrow. And now if Noah will turn around, so he will look at this. And this is the fence. This is the wall. This is the border between Israel and Gaza Strip. Okay, whatever you see behind this wall is already Gaza Strip. We are about 800 meters from the wall. Okay, so we can walk another 800 meters if we wish, and that's it. We cannot go any further because this is off limits for all of us. Okay, when I was talking about Jericho, so I told you, well, you guys, you can visit, I cannot. This time it's off limits for all of us. Okay, let me just see if our guest, or better to say host, is here. Raz?
כן, I'm here.
Hey, איזה יופי. Hey, Raz, איזה כיף לראות אותך. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I have so much more to show you, but probably we will have Gaza Strip envelope number 2. Okay, I want to introduce a dear colleague and friend of mine, Raz, who lives in Moshav Netiva Asara, which is the one which literally shares a fence with Gaza Strip, and he is an amazing tour guide, and I'm sure you would like to listen to him. So I mute myself, and Raz?
Yep.
Should we unshare your screen?
He will not share his screen, no.
So let's unshare yours.
Okay, can you see me, guys?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll start talking. I'm from my phone. I'm not home at the moment. Thursday evening. Good news, I just got vaccinated. So if I have some reactions, it's because of the COVID vaccination, not because of anything else. So that's the dangers now. As Peter said, I'm a tour guide who happens to live in Moshav Netiv HaAsara, which you've visited, quote unquote, earlier on. Been living in this Moshav for the last 36 years of my life. Originally, I was born in Sinai. Some of you are young enough to remember that Israel controlled Sinai for some years, from 1967 until 79. That's where I was born with my family. We moved to where I live today in 1982 after the peace agreement, and basically today I live in the closest Israeli civilian community to the Gaza Strip border, which is one of two communities, three, who actually borders the community, borders the Gaza Strip. What does it mean? That literally the fence of my community is next to the border with the Gaza Strip, which brings some challenges with it, obviously. You've all seen the beautiful presentation by Yulia, which you've seen the mamad, the miguniot, the shelters, which has been, for the last 15, 16 years, kind of a normal sight in our life. Same as we got used to seeing or not seeing people's faces by the masks, we're used to seeing those bomb shelters everywhere around us, everywhere around our community, everywhere next to where we live. Israel is divided by the home front command to strips of time you have between the launching of a missile and until it hits.
We talked about it. They saw a map, so they know what the 15 seconds. Yeah.
Yes. So we've seen the 15 seconds. Great, thank you. So technically we have 15 seconds, but since we live so close to the border, within the first mile, those 15 seconds, who to begin with are not very long, became something between 5 to 7 seconds. So basically, imagine your whole life. Just pick a random scenario, a random moment in your daily routine. Waking up, brushing your teeth, just Shabbat dinner, having guests, celebrating a bar mitzvah, and imagine that in each one of those scenarios, the alarm goes on, the red alert, the alarm goes on, and you have between 5 to 7 seconds to run for your life. I'm kind of fit, but there's not much I can do in 5 to 7 seconds. I can't go very far. So basically, as you've seen, there are those bomb shelters. By the way, in Hebrew, we never use the term shelter. We always use a positive description. So it would be called protected room, safe room, merchav mugan in Hebrew, which means that words create reality, and we want to kind of present this place as a shelter, as a place which is protecting us and not something that we need to be fear of. So we have those shelters everywhere, all around the community, in each house. I'm currently at a friend's house. I came in for a drink, and basically his whole house is built like a bomb shelter. He's a member of the community like myself. He grew up in here, but when he redid his house, he built the whole house as a shelter, which means the whole house has the same standard of protection as a shelter. So if the alarm goes on, technically we are all protected. Besides the fact of the shelters, for those of you who ask, Iron Dome, the intercepting system doesn't protect us because we live too close to the border. So it, for the most part, doesn't give us any protection. So we basically have to rely on the bomb shelters. But that's one threat of many. The other threat that we were facing, and that's kind of gone by now, is the idea of the terrorist tunnels, which we know by 2014, in the last operation in Gaza, Hamas have dug something between 38 to 42 terrorist tunnels from the Gaza Strip into Israel. The whole purpose of those tunnels is to launch terrorist attacks. and kill as many as possible, and if possible, kidnap as well, to later on be negotiated for swapping with Hamas terrorists. Since we're so close to the border, the threat of tunnels was very, very live here, was very, very present in our lives. Why am I saying it's gone by now? Because about a few months ago, we've finished, when I say we, I mean the Israeli government via its various authorities, finished building the underground anti-tunnel obstacle, which is basically a cement wall dug into the ground, a few dozens of feet deep. In my area, it's something between 120 to 130 feet deep concrete wall, which reach as deep as the underground table of underground water. In this wall, we have sensors to indicate any harm trying to be caused to it. And on top of it, there is a 20 feet tall metal fence, which is a second layer, which is second to the border. So that's kind of eliminated the threat of the tunnels for now. The other threat we've been dealing with in the last 3 years is the arson kites and arson balloons, which is basically balloons filled with helium or any light gas attached to anything from a charcoal to a burnt firecrackers or anything like that. They get drifted with the wind. They land in the fields around Gaza, and they ignite the whole fields on fire. Mostly it's a threat that's more common in the summer. Which brings me to an interesting, if I'm laughing a lot, it's because I'm very cynical. I'm dealing with the whole thing is a lot of cynicism. Part of this safety of the community is in the hands of us civilians. The army has created what's called an emergency response team, which is basically combined of civilians who live in the Moshav, who have been in the army and actually now in reserve service. This is not our reserve service, but as part of the residency, we are equipped by the army with rifles and combat gear, and we are supposed to be delivering the immediate response if something happens. So there's about 50 of us who are equipped and trained by the army. So if you open my wardrobe, you'll find next to the suit I don't have, because Israelis never wear suits, but I do have a fully automatic M16 rifle and all of my combat gear, which is a bulletproof vest, my magazines, radio, helmet, and all of the above. And in case of an infiltration, somebody jumps the fence, the first ones to respond are us, then we get back up by the authorities. But what's interesting is we have learned to adapt to the threats. So if originally it was, I would say, military confront, later on we were trained by the firefighters, and today we have a small fire truck in the community. And as the threats evolved, we actually train with them. So I'm a tour guide. It's easier to make me stop talking than actually talk. So I would like you, I think, to open it to questions if you wish, or if you want to know anything else or anything I want to focus on, please guide me.
Raz, thank you very much. And actually, I appreciated you stop talking because, yeah, I know you. And, well, we do have, well, we love each other. We do have quite a few questions on the chat. Some of them, were asked before you actually started talking. So let's see there. Okay, so let's start. Okay, we have a question by Sharon. Sharon is Adi's mother. You missed Adi, but it doesn't matter. Could you explain? I'm translating from Hebrew, okay? I think this is something everybody would like to understand. She asked, could you explain your decision to live in a place where you have to deal with constant threat?
I explain basically why am I here?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could have chosen a safer, calmer place.
Safer? Safe is relative, in my opinion. Calm is also relative. I think to begin with, each place comes with its own threats and its own risks and its own problems. But I'm jumping. Let's first of all, I live here because that's my home. That's my house. As I mentioned, I was born in Sinai, and nobody asked me. I was 6 years old, but nobody asked me. But I already gave up my house once for peace. This is not a scenario now. Nobody is asking me to move out of my house for peace, but the other way around. I'm being forced by a terrorist group who's called Hamas, who is currently controlling Gaza. Although they were democratically elected, they control Gaza now. And you can check their agenda. Hamas refused to recognize Israel's right to exist and calls for the destruction of the state of Israel at any given moment. They're my next door neighbors. Next time you think your neighbors suck, remember mine. And Hamas is using terrorism to try and achieve their goals. Now, terrorism, in my opinion, is nothing but adult bullying. And same way as we should not give up and surrender to bullyism when we encounter it as kids ourselves or as our kids, God forbid, bullying will never be solved if you run away from it. You need to confront it. You need to stand up for your points. The easiest way is take a longer route to school or get more lunch or lunch money, but that won't solve the problem. Terrorism is nothing but adults bullying. By leaving my house, I'll be surrendering to terrorism, to violence, to bullying, and I will only make their point, which is, I don't have a place here, more actually relevant.
Okay, Raz, I think we got Raz. I think we understand. Basically, what you mean, fight for your home, fight for your rights, and fight.
No, I don't fight. I live. I don't fight with anybody. I live my life, and I wish my neighbors all the best. I don't fight with them. That's the way. That's what I'm doing. I'm not fighting. I didn't choose to live by the border. When I moved in here in 1982, there was no border. I was forced to that reality, and I refused to let the reality Hamas is forcing us live in change my life. I'm refusing to surrender to them. I'm not fighting. I'm just trying to live a normal life in an abnormal reality.
Okay. Okay, that matter is clarified. Next question is more technical by Harry. What is the shelter home built from? Is it reinforced concrete? How thick are the walls and ceiling? Would the thickness keep the homes cooler from the heat?
Technically, it's built from concrete reinforced with metal. The size, the thickness depends on the thread that you are dealing with. So a private home shelter will be smaller and simpler than a public facility one, but basically all of them will take a direct hit from a Qassam missile. All of them today are also equipped with air purification system, filters, and they're not underground or anything. They're just one of the rooms in the house. They're not underground. They're just concrete rooms.
Okay. Okay, Raz, we have $1 million question. Okay, and that is there a solution to the problem?
How long do we have? I'll try and keep it short.
Well, less than 10 years. Okay, less.
No. By the way, somebody asked. It's a moshav, not a kibbutz. You can clarify it afterwards. It's a moshav, not a kibbutz. I don't think there is a solution to the reality, personally, myself, and I speak on behalf of myself now. I think the problem in the Middle East, in our region, is the easiest one to explain, but the hardest one to solve, and that's not my description of the situation. I don't believe in peace because I have never seen peace. I've never tasted peace. Peace for me is like an alien, like a UFO. Some believe in it, some don't. Some claim they even saw it. I never saw peace. I don't know how it feels like. I've never lived in peace. So for me, don't believe in peace. However, I'm a big believer in coexistence. What's the difference? One comes from common interests, and the other one comes from, if you want, agenda. I don't believe it can be done ideologically, but in daily life, it can be achieved. Coexistence, we can live together, but you can put two people in bed. You can't make them have. It's after 18.
Law.
Yeah, we can have sex.
Yeah. I can. Okay. Well, next question. Are you offered an incentive to live there? It is so dangerous.
First of all, the government helps us by offering some financial support for all the additional costs we have on our lives, the shelters, the equipment we need, another guards. So the government pays a lot of that. We also been getting incentives in tax deductions and a lot of help by that field. Needless to say, it's not about keeping us here, but it helps you go through things.
Okay. How do you deal with the continuing stress?
I lose hair quite a lot. So I grew beard instead. Yeah, it's a new thing, COVID. Beard. How do I deal with it? On a serious level, I have 4 boys. My oldest one is 14, my youngest one is 2. My 10-year-old is been suffering from PTSD for the last, since he was 7 or something like that. So you're talking about each one of us deals with it differently. I laugh about things. I like to be on top of things. My wife, on the other hand, doesn't care. She doesn't know what's on the other side of the wall. She doesn't get the news. She doesn't. She's, for her point of view, behind the wall is Minnesota. As adults, we deal with differently than kids. Kids have problems of kids at different ages. On top of that, you can add the stress that we have from our point of view. So you asked me earlier on about why do I stay. I think one of the problems of staying here is the fact that what my decisions affect my life and my kids' life. And somebody just kind of helped me here because I often think about leaving. There's not a single day when I don't ask myself, should I leave or should not, especially because of my kids. And every now and then I catch one of my kids, the oldest ones, and I ask them, you know what, kids, let's move out. They never, even in the hardest days of the war, were willing to move out. They're willing to get out for a few days to clear their heads if there's conflict going on. But if you ask them, let's move, I tell them, I asked just a few weeks ago, there was some escalation. I asked my oldest one, you know what, Omer, let's move to Jerusalem, to my in-laws. He started fighting with me and arguing, there's no way I'm leaving home. But I said, you know, it's scary and the red alert and the wall. He said, no, I'm not leaving, that's it. So despite all the problems we have an amazing supportive community here, which if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And we've created some kind of responsibility, mutual responsibility, and the idea of community that helps us overcome those things. And that, I think, compensates for the stress we have.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can testify that Nativ HaAsara is a beautiful place. I mean, whenever it's possible for you guys to come over here, you should visit Nativ HaAsara just to see what it is to live in the countryside. It looks like the best, the safest, the most beautiful community in wherever. And yeah, I mean, you know, I've been to Nativ HaAsara with my groups quite a few times, and then Raz was guiding them. And I think that was about, what, a year ago, was something like that. And then you said, well, that's it, I'm done, we're moving out. And then I told you, well, probably you will not. And here you are. Okay. Next question. Do you have any information about the current circumstances of Manar al-Sharif, Rami Aman, or the Gaza Youth Committee?
The what?
I can repeat. I don't know what are these, but Manar al-Sharif, Rami Aman, or the Gaza Youth Committee. I admit I know nothing about these. Well, apparently.
Last time I did that was many years ago. So
okay, we have to Google it. Sorry, not competent. Okay, simpler question. Israeli farms used to have Gaza employees. Does that happen today?
Personally, when I used to farm, I used to have about a dozen of workers on the Gaza Strip. Currently, since 2005, since the disengagement, since we left Gaza and Hamas took over, and Hamas being terrorist organization who is basically calling for our destruction. Gaza was declared a hostile entity, and technically there's nobody goes in and out, with exceptions. People go out of Gaza into Israel for humanitarian reasons, for medical support and others. Dealers get in and out, international aid organizations go in and out, but for working purposes, today as we speak, nobody from the Gaza Strip is allowed to enter into Israel to work. Oh, I wouldn't say nobody, but if it used to be in the numbers of 90,000 Palestinians from Gaza working in Israel every day, today it's maybe a few dozens, maybe a few hundreds with special permits. Usually they're dealers dealing with trade, and they need to come and shop and buy, but nobody works. And that's, by the way, one of the problems. They don't have an income.
Okay. On a typical month, how many altercations are there?
I don't like numbers. Numbers and averages can be cheating. If one has 1 million and the other one is 0, on average, they both have $500,000 in their bank, right? Wrong. When it's quiet, when we're common times, I can have weeks of no alarms. Last alarm here was 2 weeks ago. There was a misfire. It's 2 days ago, but it did not trigger the alarm where I live. It was a nearby community. So we can have weeks without an alarm. But then in times of conflict, for example, if I'll go back to Operation Protective Edge in 2014, in 52 days, we had 386 alarms, which is a lot. So it really depends on the level of tension. When it's quiet, we'll get once, twice a month. If it's not, it can be twice an hour. There's no average.
Yeah. Okay. There is a question about the painted wall in the Tiva Sarah. Can you say something about it? This is something I really wanted you to take a photo, but you didn't have the time. So just to explain the wall.
The Path to Peace project is an art project which is done by a ceramic potter from my community, which is basically taking the protective wall of the moshav. It's not the wall of the border, it's next to it. It's a few 100 meters from it. It's our wall of the community, and basically make it into an interactive piece of art where the pieces of the mosaic are made here in the moshav, in the studio of Tzameret, the artist. People from all around Israel and all around the world come. They take a piece of the mosaic, they glue it on the wall. Originally, it was just written the Path to Peace in English. Later on, it evolved to a huge wall, which you can be seen from the other side as well. Not only the one facing into our community, but the one facing Gaza. And then it says in Hebrew, Arabic, and English, Shalom, Salam, Peace, which is basically, according to Tzameret, the artist, taking a wall which represents violence, separation, fear, and all of that, and converting it into an interactive piece of art, inspiring the goal of all of us, which is peace. And that's, I think, what's the beauty of my community. We're very, very liberal in our, liberal is the wrong word in our days, but open-minded, which means we're not affiliated in any way, politically, religiously. There are secular people here, religious people here, Jews, non-Jews, right-wing people, left-wing people, have been called. So basically, Tzameret decided to do that. That represents her opinion. A lot of people in the community disagree with what she did, but that's the beauty of it. We are very, very non-affiliated. We are very liberal. You can have your own opinion. I have my opinion. My wife has a different opinion, which is okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, right now we ran out of chat questions. So if you have any further questions for us, a short one, please. So you're welcome to ask, unmute, write, whatever. Otherwise, we'll say thank you so much to us and good night. אז תודה רבה, המון המון תודה, ותרגיש טוב ותהיה בריא ושלא יצמח לך זנב. So, guys, any further questions? Last chance? No, okay, he's gone. Oh, no, he's here. Okay, questions? Mindy?
No, I'm saying thank you. Toda rabba.
Okay, you're welcome. רז, תודה רבה. Okay, well, I guess he's gone. Well, so, ladies and gentlemen, that was Raj Milovich. So look, basically what I was planning to do today is I was about to show you how beautiful and diverse and surprising and wonderful Gaza Strip envelope is. But what practically happened that we had these wonderful people talking to us, and they were talking about the difficulties of the envelope, which is obvious, and actually I'm not surprised. So what I'm gonna do, we ran out of time, so I will frankly make a second presentation of Gaza Strip envelope, the best of it, okay? Just like what happened with the Negev Desert, we had the best of the Negev Desert, and we will have the best of the Negev part 2. So coming soon around Gaza Strip part 2, and there's so much more to offer. I mean, we will not be talking about the conflict, we will not be talking about rockets, we will be talking only about the good parts of life, okay? And there is so much of it around Gaza. Okay, I have just a few questions left on chat, so before I start answering those, next week, okay, next week we have two events as usual. First one will be Tuesday, and this is Professor Amichai Mazar, who will be telling us about his archaeological finds of Tel Rehov and Skitopolis, Beit She'an, which is something me personally, I'm looking forward to it. And then next Thursday, as I told you before, we will not be able to visit the Bullet Factory. This is something we will do whenever possible, but right now it's not. And so we will be celebrating Tu B'Shvat. Now, as you know, Tu B'Shvat is a holiday of trees, and more specifically, it is the holiday of the almond tree, the Shkedia. So we are going for a beautiful walk of one of the most beautiful places in Israel to see the blossom of the almond tree, of the Shkedia. And this is a valley near Rosh Pina. So we will be walking around almond trees, and we will be visiting a wonderful tiny village called Rosh Pina, which is one of the most beautiful and one of the very first Jewish farming communities of the first Aliyah, the first immigration, the end of the 19th century, which was just recently chosen as the most welcoming place in Israel. Okay, I'm not sure who voted for it and how come, but this is a great place. So we will be visiting Rosh Pina. We will enjoy the blossom of the almond trees, and we will be visiting at least one person living in Rosh Pina. Okay, all right. So these are the plans for next week, and thank you for coming. Thank you for all your support. And now we have a few questions. There is something really important left.
I think we have a happy birthday.
We had a happy birthday to Steve. Well, I emailed him personally, so I'm sort of, yeah, but I did not ignore it. I saw it, Steve. This is beautiful. Wow, your glasses.
I think it won't work if we all sing, but might sound like a mess.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
Yom Yom Holedet.
Yom Yom Holedet. Yom Yom Holedet Steve. Hey.
Thank you very much.
So, Steve, how does it feel to be 30?
Well, it 2 times my 40th anniversary. Thank you. It's been delightful. Actually, thank you very much for the feelings. I know we've had a very slow news week this week, but I really appreciate you all coming to my party yesterday. I'm sure you watched it on television and everything.
Yeah, you got Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Who doesn't love Tom Hanks?
Only the best. Julia, firsthand testimonials like what we heard today really are dramatic and easily believed and understandable. And we would never have heard these opinions anywhere but right here. So thank you very much for setting that up. That's quite adaptable and current and believable. I also want to appreciate to Julia the fact that she has been able to flex her muscles and accommodate all the craziness. Doing 2 shows a week is one thing, but doing 2 shows a week when half the country's shut down and you never know what's going to happen next week, that's a whole different deal. But Julia has accommodated it for us very successfully, and I just want to appreciate that. Thank you again. Great. Next week should be a good week.
Yeah, this is no easy.
You want the slide, Steve?
What's that?
Should I put up the slide?
Put up the slide, yes.
Okay.
A little late. The point of the slide is that the organization that backs us, which is Volunteers for Israel in conjunction with...
Steve, we can't hear you. You're blocking the...
You disappeared.
I disappeared? Am I
No, he
back?
just blocks the mic.
You're okay now.
Okay. Nothing happens for free these days. Somebody pays for things to happen. In this case, a lot of this has actually fallen on Julia, which is totally unfair. And so we would like to just reinforce the thought that we can say thank you many ways. One way to say thank you is simply to put some money on the table, and that is tangible, it's understandable, and it certainly is worthy. In this case, we all have received unique value. So as a thank you, it's appropriate to follow through with some sort of support to Julia and her staff. And as Julia mentioned in the last episode, the people who are essentially unemployed, that is the people in the tour business, today can use the money because there's no other cash flow coming in their direction, and probably not for some time. And that's where probably most of our donations is headed. It's not going into Julia's pocket. It's certainly not going into mine. It's going directly to her to distribute. So again, I'd like to encourage you to either use her PayPal approach, which is really easy and convenient, or feel free to send a personal check to me, which then I will turn into cash and present to Julia 100%. So that's an appeal, and I think we're all getting value, and I hope you all follow the experience of a number of people who have already donated, and we appreciate them doing that.
We'll give them another 72.
We appreciate it very much, and yes, I mean, I'm very, very happy and grateful to Steve and Ilana who make this happen. I mean, that would never work without them. And I mean, I would do it even for free, but as Steve said, some people really need your financial support. Okay, just before I disappear and then you keep schmoozing, as Steve always calls it, I would like just for a sec, I will do a share screen once again, because just a minute, how do I get rid of this presentation? I'm not sure. Okay, wait a minute. This is something we're gonna see next time, but no. Oh, wait a minute. There is one photo I would like you to see, which has to do with the beginning of today's presentation, and this is this one. Okay, can you see these 2 kids? Well, the blonde one on the right, this is Noam. And yeah, it's very difficult to recognize him, but this is my Noam. He was like white, okay, when he was 6 years old. And this is Adi, and both of them are on a tree near Zichron Yaakov. So they are 6 years old here. And as you can see, they're best friends.
That's great.
And this is still the case. Yeah, so you saw Adi, and you know Noam.
Very nice.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much for coming, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week in the archaeological site,
Right.
and then in Rosh Pina. Hey, Barry and Carol.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I see that you dug in Beit Shean, so that's great. So you will see Professor Amichai Mazal, who did exactly the same, and he will be probably able to explain some stuff over there.
Some really neat photographs.
Okay, great. If you have your photograph, yeah. So just have them ready. Well, not that, maybe not that many, but just a few.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too, Marcia.
Happy weekend, Marcia. Thank you. See you soon.
Okay.
See you the day after tomorrow, Marcia. We have an appointment.
Okay.
Bye.
Julia, on your back.
See you soon.
Bye bye, everyone. See you next
Bye,
week.
everybody.
Hi,
See you
Julia.
next week.